I'll tell you, before I start, a little bit about me. As of last Thursday, if my husband had lived, we would have been married 55 years. My husband was a huge man. Before he died, he weighed almost 400 pounds. But he was 6'3", which made him a foot taller than me. But he was very domineering. And his word had to be the last word. And he was very dark complected like my son, who comes to church with me on Sunday night. One morning he got up at 4:30 in the morning, and he went to the chest of drawers to get his underwear after he got out of the shower. And he came stomping into the bedroom, screaming and yelling and cursing and just demanding. And he said, "Where's my underwear?" And I woke me up and I said, "It's in the laundry basket at the foot of the bed." We had it was a chest of, whatever it was at the foot of the bed. And so he reached over and got his underwear, and he said, "When I get home, that laundry basket better be empty." Well, it was. And so I dumped that laundry basket out and in the floor. So my husband was very brilliant. And so when he retired, I heard the story that he had been teaching. He taught computer classes. And they told me that he had used me as a teaching demonstration. And they said, well, he wasn't stupid. He got his clothes out of the floor until they were all gone. So a lot of my friends said he was my cross to bear. We made it until he died. I did not kill him, as a matter of fact. He died of natural causes. But I do want to talk on the cross. Matthew 10:38 says, "And he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me." And I have really all my life thought about the cross. One of my thoughts all my life is about follow me. All of my Bibles, I have a lot of Bibles at my house. Every one of them has underlined follow me. I've had a problem with that. I always thought I was following him all my life. And I realized the older I've gotten that I really had a problem with following me. I've always wanted to follow him closely, and I've tried and tried and tried. But I really wanted to lead him. And I realized that the older I've gotten, I wanted to lead God rather than follow him. And I didn't know that my whole life. I didn't know that I was trying to pull God where I wanted to go. And I didn't know that until I was probably in maybe my 60s. But I was trying to lead God and pull him where I wanted to go rather than letting him lead me. And I guess that was the problem I was having. And in all of my Bibles, I've got follow me wherever it was. I've got follow me underlined, highlighted, everything. But here I was trying to pull him in the direction I wanted to go rather than following him. And that's a problem I've had. And maybe everybody has that problem. I don't know if they do or not, but it was a problem that I had. And I've tried to teach my children, to let God lead them. And they're good about that. They're really good about following God. But I didn't realize it was a problem I had until I sat down and you know, talked to God about it and realized that rather than letting him lead me, that I was pulling him with me where I wanted to go. Another verse that I had in mind is, then said Jesus unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. But that's where I'm coming from. Richmond was standing in the hallway one day, and I said, Richmond, I want to teach Sunday school. And his mouth fell open. He said, I've never had anybody ask me to teach Sunday school. And I said, what is this, Church of Christ? And he laughed. But I've taught Sunday school my whole life. And I taught at Beaverdale for 50 years. So it's something I've always enjoyed. But that's something I wanted to do. And I love this church. I love it with my whole heart. I fell in love with everybody here when I entered the door. So it's a wonderful place. And Mark 8:34, and when he had called the people unto him with his disciples also, he said unto them, whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. 1 Corinthians 1:17-18. For Christ sent me not to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with wisdom of words, lest the cross of Christ should be made of none effect. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved it is the power of God. Philippians 2:8, and being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Hebrews 12:2, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. I'm looking at Little Ring to make sure I have plenty of time. I've always held on to the cross, thinking about it and looking toward it. And the cross has always meant so much to me. The fact that Jesus died for me personally, and knowing that he died for me personally, he gave his life just for me. I always felt like he did. I wasn't saved until I was 16 years old, but I always felt like God gave his life for me. And I was always humbled by that fact. When I was 13 years old, for some reason I was looking at a book my grandfather had. And in it I read that God had died for me, and I don't know, it did something to me. And in it was talking about tithing. And I was poorer than Job's turkey. And it said I needed to give 10% of everything I had. So I decided to start saving pennies, and we didn't have anything. And I started saving a penny of every dime and started giving that to church. And I was 13, started giving a penny of everything I had. And I put everything that I had away, and was really condemned about that. So, this is strange. We would pick blackberries and sell them to our neighbors, and I would take these pennies or dimes or whatever and save them. And I did this for 3 years, all the time, and would take them to the church next door and give it into the offering. And God was working on me that whole time until I was saved. And I would look at that cross in front of the church and not realizing that I was condemned that whole time. But I would look at that cross and think, God, you died on that cross for me, and never realized that I was condemned, and that God had done that just for me. He did it all for me. And when the preacher gave when the preacher said one morning, you know, you can come down to the front of this church and be saved, I thought, you know, he's talking to me. He wants me to be saved. And I went down to the front of the church and I said, yeah, I'm going to be saved today. And I was, and I thought, oh gosh, he's speaking to me. And when I went down, I thought, wow, he's made a difference in my life. And it's because of the cross. And, you know, life hasn't been perfect since then. And I told you, I married this overbearing man. And we were high school sweethearts. And I met him when I was 15 and he was 14. And like I told you, we were married for 55 years, or it would have been Thursday. And we had 4 pregnancies, but we had 2 live births. And had 2 perfect children. Bear that in mind. And it was wonderful. We had a great marriage. And I kept them in church 3 times a week. And when my husband died, he said, on his dying bed, he said, I want to tell you how much I love you. I love you every dying day. And I want to tell you how much I admire you. He says, I've watched you. And as a Christian, I watched you take our children to church 3 times a week. I watched them be saved. I watched them be baptized. And you were my witness. You were my Jesus. You were the reason I was saved when you were at church one Sunday while I was watching TV. If it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't have been saved one Sunday morning. He said, I want to thank you for doing that all these years. And bear in mind, this is this great big gruff man who has done everything in the world. And we knew when he went in the hospital, he just had 2 days to live. But he was a perfect witness to all these people that his father who didn't believe in God and his brother who was having a hard time. But anyway, that's how he died. And he made an effort to thank me for raising the children in church. And he's real good about that. But he did thank me for raising the children in church and for taking care of them. And for being a witness to him. I never expected that. But the last thing I want to do, and I didn't expect to stand up here and cry, I want to read this. I've worked for 40 years in the legal field. I slaved in law offices and I worked in federal court during all the butcher mess. And that was an education in and of itself. Anyway, I worked in the courtroom during all the Jake Butcher and his brother's mess and enjoyed that greatly. But anyway, during all that time, I carried this one file folder with me at every law office I went to. And it stayed smack dab in the middle of my desk. And people wondered what it was. And I would gladly take it out and tell them what it was. This came out of a newspaper, and it was a reminder to me when I would have troubles and trials, and they all come. But I want you to know that I feel like I'm the most blessed person in the whole wide world. And don't ever doubt that. I feel like God has been so good to me. He has blessed me beyond measure. I feel like every day when I wake up that God is so good to me, and it's not a day in the world that I don't tell somebody, and sometimes lots and lots of people, how good God is to me. And I thank him every morning, sometimes 50 times a day, for being so good to me. At the grocery store yesterday, I was telling people how good God was to me, and he is so good to me. I have wonderful children. I've had a wonderful family. I have everything in the world I could ever want. I am so blessed. But I want to read this to you. Like I say, it's traveled everywhere with me. It's called The Cross Room. The young man was at the end of his rope. Seeing no way out, he dropped to his knees in prayer. Lord, I can't go on, he said. I have too heavy a cross to bear. The Lord replied, my son, if you can't bear its weight, just place your cross inside this room. Then open that other door and pick out any cross that you wish. The man was filled with relief. Thank you, Lord, he sighed, and he did as he was told. Upon entering the other door, he saw many crosses, some so large the tops were not visible. Then he spotted a tiny cross leaning against a far wall. I'd like that one, Lord, he whispered. And the Lord replied, My son, that is the cross you just brought in.
Thank you.
Love you too.